What is going on, guys? Today we are going to be making some Mexican stuffed bell peppers. Yes, they are Mexican stuffed bell peppers, perfect for taco night. So if you are craving tacos but you don't want to eat the shells and you're looking for something a little bit different, try out these keto stuffed Mexican bell peppers. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off by putting a little oil in our skillet, and we're going to start off by sauteing half of the onion. So once the pan gets hot, we can go ahead and add our onion and start cooking that. And here we are adding half an onion. Today I used a large onion, so this is half of a large onion added to the skillet. And we're going to let that cook for a few minutes, say 4 to 5 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and add in some minced garlic. Alright, so to this, we are going to add in 2.5 teaspoons of garlic. Today I'm using minced garlic from the jar. You can also use fresh garlic, but it's kind of late in the day and I don't feel like cutting up any garlic today, so I'm using minced garlic from the jar, which is perfectly fine. And you're just going to give it a mix and pretty much let this cook until the garlic is fragrant. Usually about 2 to 3 minutes is all it takes. Alright, now I'm adding in a pound of ground beef. And that's pretty much all you need for this recipe. This recipe is going to make 6 bell peppers, which is 12 halves. So we do like to have these left over for lunch the next day. They work perfectly fine heating them up in the microwave the next day. We take them to work for lunch. We eat leftovers the next day. You know, they're really good for that. So very, very easy to make. Alright, so we are going to let our ground beef cook, and while it is cooking, we're going to go ahead and set this to the side, and we're going to bring over our baking dish, and I'm going to show you how you want to prep the bell peppers for this. But so let's go ahead and bring over our bell peppers. I have rinsed them and cut them in halves. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by adding these to the pan. What you want to do is, because it doesn't bake in the oven very long, in a crock pot and stuff it's fine, and the bell peppers are going to get nice and tender. Cooking them on the stovetop, same thing, but you're not giving them a chance to cook very long when you make them in the oven, so you do need to microwave them before you start to get them a little tender before making them in the oven. But before we get into that, I do just want to show you, this is the crock pot that I normally like to use to make these in. If you guys don't have one of these, I'll leave a link in the description below, but we got this crock pot this past year as a gift, and it's a rectangular crock pot, and it's perfect for making like casseroles and stuff like that, and especially for stuffed bell peppers it's perfect, and then you don't have to put your bell peppers in the microwave before. But let's go ahead and get back to this now. And you can use any kind of color bell peppers that you prefer. I just happen to have some red and some green, so we're just going to be using both of them. So we are going to go ahead and get these ready to put in the microwave, and you do want to add some water to the bottom of the pan. I probably should have added water to the pan first, but you know, either way, as long as you get water that covers the entire bottom of the pan, that way the water kind of steams them a little bit as it heats up in the microwave, and it's going to help your bell peppers get a little softer quicker. Alright, and here you go. Now we're going to go ahead and just pop them in the microwave, and you can put them in the microwave 5 to 10 minutes depending on how well you want them cooked, and of course depending on your microwave. I believe I had to put mine in the microwave for about 10 minutes. Alright, so let's go ahead and get back to the meat. It looks like it is pretty much all done, nice and cooked. So now what we're going to do is we're going to strain our meat. We're going to drain it in the sink to let out any of the excess fat. If you don't care about that, you can skip this step, but we do drain out our fat from the meat. So I will take this over to the sink and drain that out, And after that is completely drained out, we will add it back into the pan so that we can add in our taco seasoning. Alright, and now we're going to add our cooked ground beef back into the pan. That way we can add our low carb taco seasoning. You can use any taco seasoning that you want, but we make our own low carb taco seasoning, so that's what we're going to be using for today's recipe. All right, and we are going to be adding in our homemade taco seasoning here. We just make it homemade so that there's no sugar or anything in it. And we're going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of this to our meat. Normally when you cook using your taco seasoning packets, 1 packet equals to about 2 tablespoons of seasoning. So we're using 2 tablespoons of our seasoning, which is equal to using 1 packet. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and give this a good mix. Make sure it does get all over the meat. And then we're also going to add in a 1/4 cup of water just to help get the seasonings all over the meat and combine really well. Alright, so we're going to add in 1/4 cup of water, and that's going to help the seasoning and the meat combine really well, help it get all over it. That way we don't have to worry about having some meat with missing seasonings anywhere. So we're going to go ahead and just combine that really well, let it cook for a few minutes, and then it should be good to go. Alright, and now we're going to go ahead and add in our meat to the bowl, and we're just going to set that to the side until a little bit later. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn off our meat. It is done, and we're just going to grab a bowl, any kind of bowl that you can mix in, and we're going to add in our cooked ground beef seasoned to this bowl, and then we're going to set it to the side and move on to the next step. Alright, so I have went ahead and taken these out of the microwave. I did end up having to put mine in for about 10 minutes, but as you can see, they're nice and tender. They're no longer hard and crispy like raw bell peppers, and that's what we want because the oven really doesn't cook them that long. You cook them for about 25 to 30 minutes. So by the time they're done, they are still going to be crispy if you don't do this step. But like I said, my favorite method of making these is in the crock pot. So if you are able to make them in the crock pot, that is what I would recommend. And like I said, crock pot is going to be low 4 to 5 hours or high for 3 hours. So we went ahead and poured the excess water out from the pan. We're layering them back into the pan. They are nice and tender to where by the time they're done baking, they are not going to be crispy. Okay, and now we are going to add in our 10 ounces of our diced tomatoes and green chilies. Okay, so mix that all in with the meat. And we're going to add in 1/2 cup of Spanish cauliflower rice. You don't have to use Spanish cauliflower rice. You can really use any cauliflower rice you want. And if you don't like cauliflower rice, then don't even put it in there. You can, if you want more cauliflower rice in there, go ahead and add a whole cup to it. But I like it with just 1/2 cup, just to give it a little filler, but not too much for this. And I normally store some in the freezer when I make the cauliflower rice. If you need a recipe for the cauliflower rice, I did my last video, actually I made a video for Spanish cauliflower rice, so I'll leave a link for that up here and in the description down below if you would like to check that out. And then let's go ahead, and now it's time to fill our bell peppers before we pop them into the oven. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 350, which I should have done earlier. Now we're going to just start scooping our mixture into each bell pepper. Alright, and we're just going to, like I said, we're just going to get a spoon and fill each one until they're all filled. Okay, and I actually had a couple extras that I couldn't fit into the other pan, so I did grab an 8x8 pan and fit the last four halves in there. So you may need a 13x9 and an 8x8 pan if you're going to bake them. Or, I mean, you don't have to use all six bell peppers. That's what I use for this recipe. But like I said, my family does enjoy eating them for leftovers the next day. If you're a small family and you don't need all those leftovers, then you can also, put the meat away and save it for the next day for another meal like tacos or something like that. So, or you can make a taco salad out of it. So that's also an option too. So don't think that you have to use all these bell peppers if, you only have like one or two people to feed. That is how much this recipe makes. But with that leftover meat, there's plenty of stuff that you can do with it. So this is all I have left. I'm pretty much just going to go ahead and see what I can top off with this. And then we should be able to put it in the oven. Alright, now I have both of these ready to go. And then there's just one last step before we put them into the oven. And that is going to be to add some shredded cheese to the top. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and add some cheese to the top of each one of these. I think I used about a cup of shredded cheese. It's just going to depend on how much you want to add on there. I pretty much just put enough to cover. Alright, and here we go. They're all topped with cheese. Now they are going to go into the oven on 350 for about 25 to 30 minutes. Alright, so we have pulled them out of the oven. They have cooked for about 30 minutes, and as you can see, the cheese is nice and melted. Like I said, you can add more cheese if you want to, but we don't need that much cheese on it with all the toppings that you can put on it. Any kind of toppings that you like for tacos is what you're going to put on these. So let's go ahead and dress one of these up just so you can get an idea of how you want to top them. So doesn't that look good? And it is low carb, but it is going to taste good. We're going to add some shredded lettuce to this. We're going to put some tomatoes. I prefer some cilantro on top, so we're going to add some of that. And here you go. And what we also did was we add some guacamole, some sour cream, some salsa to the top of this. And you guys, this is going to be a really, really good low carb meal that you are going to enjoy. Your kids are going to enjoy. Your family's going to enjoy. It's going to be really, really good. So please give it a try. And if you like this recipe and you want to see more low carb recipes, please, if you haven't yet, make sure that you do subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time we drop a video.